Welcome everyone to our first of many sneak peek intro videos to Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, the set being released on the 18th, which we are all very excited about. The first card I want to jump into and talk about isn't a powerful card so much as it is just beautiful, which is our new basic land cards, which will be released in the set booster packs. They will feature a full art display on the card, and the mana production will be listed on the side of the card as opposed to the bottom of the card. But they look beautiful, and I have to have these in my deck for Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. I already know that. The next card I want to talk about, they're bringing back vehicles in a big way with Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. So that means that they had to release, for their first sneak peek, one of the most powerful vehicles that will probably be in the set, which is their Surge Hacker Mech. It is a 4 mana card, all colorless since it is an artifact. It is a 5/5, and it does have a crew 4, meaning you have to have 4 creatures on the board that you can tap to pilot this vehicle for it to do anything. That being said, it comes with some other abilities that make it so much better. It has Menace, which is we're used to seeing with a lot of vehicles from the Innistrad set, meaning that you must block with at least 2 creatures, and if you do not, then it is unblockable to your opponent. When it enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to twice the number of vehicles that you control to either a creature your opponent controls or to a planeswalker that your opponent controls. So it is fantastic, especially if you get it with the new commander deck coming out with the set, which is entirely vehicle based, and then reducing the cost of your artifacts, which we'll get to later with another card that they've sneak peeked for us. The next card I want to talk about is a transform card. They don't seem to have a lot of them shown in this set, but one of the ones they showed us was an Enchantment Saga, which is the Kami War. So this Enchantment Saga starts with, when you play it, you get to exile a non-land permanent that your opponent controls, which is an okay effect, but of course gets better, as do all the Saga enchantments. The second one is that you can return up to 1 other target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, and then each opponent discards a card. So that's really good, and I can see that comboing really well with your ninjutsu effect cards as well. You can even return up one of your own permanents back to your hand and still make your opponent's discard. I see the combos, they're endless. And the third one is of what allows it to transform. It says that you exile it and then you return it back to the battlefield transformed. It turns into Kagachi Made Manifest. So this is a dragon spirit. It's a 6/6. It has flying, it has trample, and it's considered all colors. Then when he attacks, the defending player chooses a non-land card in your graveyard, and you get to return that to your hand. The mana cost of that card buffs this card's attack based on whatever the converted mana cost would be. It gets that much attack. So they're incentivized to give you a low mana cost card, so that way the attacking creature isn't super buffed, but they don't give you such a low mana card that you could just play it right out before you even end your turn. So I love it. It adds another complexity to the game, and I think it really sets the tone for Kamigawa Neon Dynasty in a great way. I needed to talk about some of the ninja cards. They have a ninja planeswalker, as well as one of their ninja legendary creatures they released that they talked about. One of them we already have seen before, which is Kaito Shizuki. It is a legendary planeswalker, and at the beginning of your end step that he entered the battlefield, then he phases out. So what that means for anyone who doesn't know is it just is a returning mechanic, allowing you to treat that card as though it did not exist until your next turn. So for this planeswalker, it starts with 3 health, and you can add 1 to him. Allows you to draw a card and then discard a card unless you attack that turn. Then, if you take away 2, you create a 1/1 blue ninja token that cannot be blocked. And then if you take away 7, you get an emblem that whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player that you control, you search your library for a blue or black creature, and you put it on the battlefield and shuffle. It's a great way to pull out the other cards that they're showing us in the set that will buff your cards, your ninjas, or will allow your other cards to have ninjutsu that are in your hand, which is fantastic. A reminder to everyone who does not remember ninjutsu from the other Kamigawa cards is that ninjutsu allows an attacking creature you control that was not blocked to be swapped out with a card that's in your hand that has ninjutsu, so that way, instead of the card that wasn't blocked is the one that was attacking, it is the card that you just played. It will come into the battlefield tapped and attacking, and it will have already not been blocked. So it's a great way to get some more damage into your opponent, or to be able to pop off certain effects that you have on the board based on dealing a certain amount of damage. So that's a really great way to combo out with this Planeswalker to pull out the cards that you're needing that have that ability. The other ninja card that they've released is a 3 mana, blue, black, and then colorless to cast. Their human ninja called Satoru Umezawa, I'm going to say, and butcher the name entirely. Whenever you activate a ninjutsu ability, you look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, and the rest in the bottom of your library in any order, and the ability can only trigger once each turn. And then each creature card that's in your hand will automatically have ninjutsu, and the ability activation for that for each of those cards would be 2 colorless mana, a blue, and a black mana. So it's 4 mana ninjutsu, and he's a 2/4 alone. It's a great card. I think it's great to be able to get out your ninjutsu cards, especially since it gives all of your cards ninjutsu in your hand. You need to be able to get some more card draw to accommodate your ninjutsu effects. So that way, while you're establishing board dominance, you're not also sacrificing that hand advantage. The next card I want to talk about is our Goblin Samurai, which I'm excited about because I love goblins. And I just love the idea of a little goblin samurai. It just sounds awesome. So his name is Goro Goro, disciple of Ryusei. Again, I'm going to be butchering the name. It is a 2/2, and he's a red card, so he's 2 mana, one of which must be red. So to act, he has 2 activated abilities. One for 1 red mana. Creatures you control gain haste until end of turn. Pretty much expected with a lot of goblin creatures to play them and then immediately be able to attack with them. The other activated ability is a 5 mana, 2 of which must be red. You create a 5/5 red dragon spirit creature token with flying, but you can only activate that ability if you control another attacking modified creature. So modified is a new mechanic they're introducing with this set, meaning any card that has an equipment, any aura that is on the card, and any counters that are on the card, buffing it or debuffing it, count as being a modified creature. So even if your opponent has hurt your creatures with permanent -1/-1 counters, well, in a way, they've helped you pop off this ability, because as long as you use that creature to attack, it still, even then, will allow you to create your 5/5 red dragon, which is, I think, a really powerful ability, especially for a goblin, where you're probably swarming your opponent, and you're not necessarily playing large cards. You're usually buffing your goblin, so this is a great way to establish a powerful board dominance, so that way if they have an AoE board wipe that kills all your weaker creatures, you may still have each of these 5/5 dragon spirit tokens on your build, on your board, if you were able to get a lot of them out. Yeah, I figure even just 2 or 3 of these would probably make the card worth it. Next up, I want to talk about the Planeswalker, the Wandering Emperor. So she's a 4 mana card, 2 of which must be white. She has 3 health. She can be played as Flash, again, meaning that you can cast it as an instant. You can play on anyone's turn, so long as you have the mana to pay for it. And as long as she entered the battlefield on that turn, then you may activate her loyalty abilities anytime you could cast an instant. So that is pretty awesome. So on the turn, if you played it on your opponent, you can immediately use one of her abilities as if they were instants, even though normally you can only activate them on your turn as though they were sorcery. So she starts with 3 loyalty already. If you give her another one, she puts a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature, and it would gain first strike until end of turn. Really good with ninjas. Even really good with goblins, but she's a white card, so really difficult to combo with the goblins. Take away a loyalty, and you can create a 2/2 white samurai creature token with vigilance. That's pretty awesome. And then if you take away 2, you can exile target tap creature, and then you gain 2 life. So as far as Planeswalkers go, she has no real high cost ability, but they're all fairly decent abilities nonetheless. I want to also go to some of the other Planeswalkers that they're releasing in this set that we haven't talked about yet. So the next card I want to talk to you guys about is the first of the 2 friction cards that they've shown us in the sneak peeks today. I'm going to butcher the name, so bear with me. I think it's Tamiyo Completed Sage. So that's what I'm going to go for. So ideally she's a 5 mana cost card. 2 of which can be any mana, 1 green, 1 blue. But she has 1 mana cost that's kind of odd. It can either be paid for with a blue mana, a green mana, or you can pay 2 life. That's her completed ability. However, she starts on the board with 5 loyalty, and you lose loyalty if you paid life for her to get on the board. So, of course, this is 2 life that you paid for to get her out. If you use your life points to pay for her, then she's 2 less loyalty. So if that's how you paid for her, then instead of 5, she'll be at 3 loyalty. Her abilities are that she can add a loyalty to herself to tap up to 1 target artifact or creature, and then it won't untap during its controller's untap step. I think this is a really good counter against vehicles, if that ends up being a big thing in the set. So I see it as you're going up against a player running that commander deck they've shown us today, which is all vehicles, it seems. And then you tap it, so the creatures that they were just using to crew that card either have to choose to attack, or your opponent's just missing their next turn. So I think that's a really good counter. Her other ability is a little bit harder for me to picture in the deck that I think it should go into. So I'm just going to read it out. It's you lose X amount of loyalty, and you exile target non-land permanent card with mana with value of X, X being however much loyalty you chose for her to lose, and you create a token that's a copy of that card. So I see that being comboing really well with Samurai. I just don't see her mana devotion matching that. So I'm imagining this as you exile a Samurai or like a ninja, and you get out that ninja on your side of the board again, especially one of those ones that are buffing your other ones. But I'm not so certain that I see her fitting in those decks, so I have to imagine that there's another purpose for this card, which I can't wait to see. And we'll get into the other Phyrexian card that was released, or at least shown in the pre-release sneak peek. The other Planeswalker I want to talk about is Tezeret, Betrayer of Flesh. Again, probably butchering the name. So he's 4 mana, 2 of which must be blue. Comes out with 4 loyalty. The first activated ability of an artifact you activate each turn costs 2 less to activate. I think that's almost obviously meant for the vehicle decks coming out in the set, but I can definitely see it being used in a lot of other decks as well. Some of my modern legacy decks could certainly use that card, but in the standard rotation, I'm thinking the purpose is for vehicles. And then you add a loyalty to the card, and he lets you draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact card. So again, meant for you to have vehicles, you discard an artifact card, it's just 1 card instead of the 2. So the effect would essentially read, add 1 loyalty, draw 2, discard 1. So I can definitely see the purpose of that in that deck. Lose 2 loyalty, and target artifact becomes an artifact creature, and if it's not already a vehicle, then it has power and toughness 4/4. So I definitely think that that's really cool, but would have to be using an artifact that's not already a vehicle to buff it up. Most of the vehicles, I have to imagine, are probably 4/4 or more anyways. So so I think this is just meant to use your artifacts that are not already vehicles to give them the ability to attack. Unfortunately, vehicles have to be crewed, but it looks like this doesn't turn it into a vehicle so much as just an artifact creature, which means, unlike a vehicle, they won't need to be crewed, and you can just attack with them. So I can definitely see this as being a way to speed up those vehicle decks instead of having to crew every card you're playing. So I like that. And then take away 6 loyalty from the card, and you get an emblem. The emblem would read, whenever an artifact you control becomes tapped, you draw a card. So I can definitely see that comboing well with his second activated ability, where you're attacking with a bunch of artifact creatures at this point, and you're drawing a card for each one of them. So that's a great way, and it definitely belongs in a blue deck. Great way to be able to cycle through your cards. I think it just fits the theme really well. The next card I'd like to talk to you guys about is one of the 5 mythic rare dragons that they're going to be releasing in the set, which is Kyrie, the Swirling Sky. Again, I probably messed up his first name there. He's 6 mana, 2 of which must be blue, 4 can be any color. He is a 6/6 with flying. He's a dragon spirit. And he has ward 3, which is for that large of a creature to be expected. I think that's fair. So when he dies, you choose an effect. So you have 2 options. 1, return any number of target non-land permanents with total mana value, 6 or less, to their owner's hands. A great way to where if he dies, you wipe, don't necessarily kill, but you at least return everything your opponent has back to the hand. Again, pretty much expected in a blue deck. And then the second ability is that it will allow you to mill 6 cards, and you can return up to 2 instants and or sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. I can see that being really good if you're pulling specific spells, but I definitely think the first ability will be the most used. But I like them both. Makes sense. 6/6 flying, ward 3. So next up, they released of the legendary lands they're releasing, Bozaiju, Who Endures. So it's a legendary land that if you tap it, you can add a green mana to your mana pool, but it has channel effect. So the channel effect is a keyword that's returning back. You pay 2 mana, one of which must be green, and you can discard this card, and then you get to activate an ability. So the ability would read, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land an opponent controls. That player may search their library for a land card with a basic land type, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle, and this ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. It's a great way for you to be able to destroy your opponent's land. I just think that you pretty much have to destroy something really important on your opponent's side of the board to use that ability. But I like it. It's a good card. Okay, so the next card I want to talk to you guys about is the Reality Chip, which is a blue card, 2 mana, one of which must be blue, and it is a legendary artifact creature that also acts as an equipment. So it's a 0/4. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. And as long as this card is attached to a creature, you may play land cards and cast spells from the top of your library. And to attach it to a creature, it's 3 mana. It's called Reconfigure since it's used on a creature. And you can move it on as an equipment instead of a creature. One of those mana must be blue. A good card. I've personally never played with a card like that before, so I'm interested to see how it plays. I do like me some jellyfish, though. I think jellyfish are really good. Usually let you prevent combat damage, or they do some other cool effect. So I'm very interested to see how this would work in a blue deck. One of the other cards that they've shown us actually was shown on the 25th of December. One of them was, I'm gonna mess up the name. Bear with me again. Sugu, Devouring Chaos. It is a 4 mana card, one of which must be black. It's a black card. He's an ogre demon. If he's alone, he's just a 4/4. His abilities, though, is tap a black mana and sacrifice a creature. Allows you to scry 2. If you tap 3 mana, one of which must be red, tap him, exile the top card of your library, and you may play that card on that turn. When you exile a non-land card that way, then this card deals damage equal to the exiled card's mana value to any target. So it's ideally run in what I think would be good in a vehicle deck if black fit in that deck. So that way you're exiling your 4 or 5 mana cost vehicles and you're dealing that damage out for just 3 mana and you're tapping this creature. So the effect would be more likely red is like, 3 mana, tap it, and deal 5 damage to any target, and you may cast that spell this turn. I think it's a really good card. Some of the cards I want to talk about, they were sneak peeked, but technically only belong to the commander decks that will be released. But these are the, not necessarily you have to run them this way, but these are the commanders of the decks that they'll be releasing. One of them is Shishiro the Shattered Blade, a 4 mana card. 1 is red, 1 green, 2 of any color. It is a 4/4, and whenever an aura or equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 2/2 red spirit creature token with menace. And at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each modified creature you control. He belongs to the commander deck whose entire strategy is to flood the board and upgrade your own creatures. That way you have, big creatures attacking your opponent, either wiping out what they have or wiping them out from the game. So it definitely fits in a green-red deck. I could totally see that. The other one is the vehicle deck we were talking about. The commander for that deck would be Katori Pilot Prodigy. She's a 3 mana card, 1 blue, 1 white, 1 of any color. She's a 2/4 on her own, but vehicles you control have crew 2, which is a great way to upgrade vehicles, especially since most of the ones that I've seen so far seem to have a 4 or 5 crew. And then at the beginning of combat on your turn, target artifact creature you control gains lifelink and vigilance until end of turn. And I think that's really good to be able to essentially upgrade your vehicles even more, to be able to not have to tap them and be able to gain life back, especially since you'll be using your creatures to pilot those vehicles. You're essentially sacrificing defenders your next turn. So Lifelink's a great way to offset that cost to increase your life, to accommodate for the fact that if they don't have blockers, or they're choosing not to block your vehicle because they're going to be doing an assault on their turn, that you can balance out if it was worthwhile to attack with that vehicle. The last card that they released on December 25th that we have yet to talk about is, again, bear with me, is Atsushi the Blazing Sky, a 4-mana red card, 2 of which must be red, 2 can be any color. It is a 4/4 with flying and trample, and when he dies, you choose an effect. Exile the top 2 cards of your library until end of your next turn. You may play those cards, or create 3 treasure tokens. I think that this card with the treasure token effect would make a lot more sense in a multicolored deck, since the treasure allows you to sacrifice it to add a mana of any color to your mana pool. But a lot of red cards allow you to exile cards from the top of your library and cast them to your next turn. So I think that makes a lot of sense in even just a red deck if you're going monocolored. A lot of the cards that they're releasing in these newer sets tend to go in multicolored decks, but I like to see at least a card that would fit really well in just a monocolored deck, because when I first started playing Magic, I solely built monocolored decks because it was easier to play. I could guarantee that the land I was going to draw was a land I could use, and I didn't have to wait on one specific land card. Oh, I've got a ton of mountains in my hand, I've got to pull a forest out here, and if I don't pull it, then I essentially lose the game. Not a fun way to play, so I like to know that there's at least something out there for the newer players if they want to go with the monocolored decks. So a couple other cards that they released only on videos and have yet to update onto the website itself, I will go over. So one of them is a shrine. We've seen a lot of shrines in Kamigawa. Most of them are just, they buff each other, like they do something if you have other shrines. So one of the ones that they've released is a legendary one. This is, again, all these names I feel like I'm butchering, but is Go Shintai of Shared Purpose. It's a 4-mana card, 3 of any color, 1 must be plains. It is a white card. It is a shrine, but oddly enough is also a creature. So it's a legendary enchantment creature that also acts as a shrine. It's a 1/3. It has vigilance. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay a colorless mana, and if you do, you create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token for each shrine you control. So as we're seeing with this card, as we do with all the other shrine cards, is that it is more powerful based on the amount of shrines that you control. I have to imagine they'll be releasing more shrines. That makes sense with the Kamigawa set. Champions of Kamigawa had shrines in it, and they've been releasing shrines with Kamigawa sets. So I look forward to seeing more out there, but this one being a creature is a change for shrines, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. And it not having to tap to be able to attack, I think just makes a lot of sense for a card like this, but it's only a 1/3. I don't imagine it getting a lot of, flooding the board type play, as so much as it flooding your board for you with its ability to play a 1/1 spirit for every shrine that you control. The other one I want to talk about here is Kyodai Soul of Kamigawa. So it's a 4-mana card as well, 3 colorless mana, 1 plains. So same mana cost as the other one we talked about. It is a dragon spirit with flash, flying, and is a 3/3, which is all great. Its ability, and that activates when he enters the battlefield, is that another target permanent would gain indestructible for as long as you control that card. And for 1 of every color mana, you can give this creature +5/+5 until end of turn. So it's a great card on its own, especially if you're running it in a multicolored deck that can pay for a lot of mana. And then buff this card to 8/8 as flying, and you can attack. Even better if you somehow have the mana to play this card out on your opponent's turn when they're attacking and buff it at the same time. All of that would be a great combo, but I'm more excited about it coming to the battlefield and giving something indestructible until it dies. So I think that that's going to be a great combo. I can see that being run in a lot of different decks. Indestructible is a keyword that I think works in every deck. And just to remind people, in case you don't know what indestructible is, indestructible would mean that any card that says destroy in it, when it's targeting the creature or whatever permanent has indestructible, does not work. And damage, combat damage, or just regular damage does not kill it, but it will die if its toughness is reduced to 0, which is a little bit complicated for new players to learn. Any counters that it's given permanently reduces its toughness, and that would be enough to kill it. And then exiling it is another way to get around it. but still it makes it to where you're forcing the other opponent to either deal with your legendary spirit flying dragon, or you're forcing them to play around the fact that you've got an indestructible card on the board, or they have to answer that indestructible in some other way. So I think it's a really great way to throw your opponent off while you try to take the advantage and win the game until they respond. So the other Phyrexian card we finally have gotten to is a... I'm going to attempt to read this. It is Jin Grataxius Progress Tyrant. It is a 7-mana card, 2 of which must be blue, 5 of any color. So essentially this card is perfect for a blue deck. It is a blue card itself. Whenever you cast an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, you get to copy that spell and choose a new target for that. However, you can only trigger that ability once per turn. Its other ability is that whenever an opponent casts an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, then this card would counter that, and it also only triggers once each turn, and he's a 5/5. So he's a powerful card. For 7 mana 5/5, that's not totally impressive, but for the other abilities you're getting in it, essentially it's a cancel that triggers only on the first spell that your opponent plays. I love that. And then also the first spell you're playing you get to copy out. I like that too. So I definitely think for 7 mana it's a worthwhile card. And again, loving the monocolored theme going on, because I think this card would go well in just any blue deck that you have. So moving on to our next card. Silver Fur Master was another one that they did a sneak peek on. It's a super cute card, not an impressive one on its own, but its abilities help buff a ninja deck. So on its own, it's a blue-black mana to cast it. It is a 2/2. He also has ninjutsu for a blue-black mana, so for the same mana cost you would need to cast it, you can cast it instead as a surprise attack, which is really nice. But the other abilities are what really speak to how good this card is. Ninjutsu abilities you activate cost a colorless mana less to activate, and then other ninja and rogue creatures you control get +1/+1. So I think it's really smart to be able to buff up your other cards, especially if you're ninjutsuing them out, so you can have this card just sitting on your board. I would imagine not really attacking unless you 100% know it's safe, you're that confident. This is one of those cards you keep on the board, buffing your other ninjas, and then whenever something is not being blocked, you ninjutsu out another ninja, pull that card back up. It's buffed because of your rat, and I just think it combos together really well. And then the last card that was peeked at for today is Enthusiastic Mechanaut. So it's a blue-red mana to play him. He's a 2/2. And he's a Goblin Artificer. So he's a 2/2 with flying, and artifact spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Again, goes really well in a vehicle deck. Him being a red card and being a goblin, this is the second of the goblins we've seen, so imagine he's supposed to go with the other goblin that we've seen. But I definitely think on its own, not terribly impressive, but put in that vehicle deck, so long as the mana, it makes sense for a red to be in that, then I definitely think that that's a great card to run in that. As for it being run on its own in a goblin deck, I definitely don't think that it would be worthwhile. You don't typically run a lot of artifacts in a goblin deck unless you're running vehicles. So, that being said, that's all the cards that have been sneak peeked at on the 25th of December, all the way up until now. So join us tomorrow where we can talk more about the next set that's released, or the next peek at the set that's being released. And usually they release it at 9 a.m. If you want to check it out for yourself, or you want to see their video, which is of course expertly done, you can go to magic.wizards.com, go to their articles, and you can see that they have a YouTube channel as well if you want to go there. They have articles talking about the cards, articles talking about the lands, the neon ink that they're going to be using. It's a great read, and I'll see you next time.